Hello viewers, I'm Parvez, and in this video I'm going to show you that how you can create a simple news app using Django, so in Python programming language. So this is the simple news app, not much complex, just we are using an API, news API for this. And you can see this is the Al Jazeera English news, and if I go to BBC, you can see I will fetch the news from the BBC and like this. So like this, I'm going to show you. So now let's get started. I'm going to use uh, I'm going to use PyCharm ID for this. Now the first thing you need to create a project. So first you need to install Django, and before creating our project, I will say that I'm using News API. So I've created an account. I have got my API key, so you can create an account in newsapi.org, and you can see that you can get, for example, the author, title, description, image, URL to image, and publish at content. So you can get a lot of things from this. And if you see the documentation, so the client libraries for Node.js, Ruby, Python, PHP, and Java, it's coming soon, and C#. So we are using Python. So first you need to install Django. After that you need to install this API key. So you can install by pip install news API-Python. So and it will be installed. Now after this, we are going to create our project. Okay, so now in PyCharm ID, open your terminal, and in here we are going to create our project. So Django at main and start project, and I'm going to call start project. Start project, and I'm going to call. You can give a name to your project. So I'm going to call it news and hit enter. So now I'm waiting and my project will be created. So now the project created, and if I check, you can see I have news. So I'm not going to describe these files because I have a complete Django tutorial. You can watch that for these. Okay, so after creation of this, now we need to first, we are going to cd news. We are going to change directory to our news, and now we need to Django admin and Python manage.py migrate, and let me just migrate my project. And now let me run my server. So Python manage.py run server. Okay, so now you can see, let me just copy this URL and paste this in my browser. So in here, let me just paste this. Okay, now you can see that the install works successfully. Congratulations. And now the first thing we need, we are going to create an app. So let me just create a new session. So you know about app that I have described this in my Django series, that what are apps. Okay, so now let me first change directory to news, and now I'm going to create Django Python manage.py start app, and you can give the name to your app. So I'm going to give it news app. So apps are the small pieces of, for example, a web application or a website. You can have many apps in a website or a web application. So now we have created our app, and if you see, okay, now you can see we have news app, and we have these files in here. Okay, so the first thing I need, I'm going to create a new folder in here. So, and I call it templates because I'm going to use templates like this. Okay, now after this in the templates, I'm going to create a HTML file. I call it index. So you can see I have a bunch of files right now. I'm not going to touch this. Okay, so first let me just open my news app, and in the views I want to first import. So from news API import news API client, and in here I'm going to create an index method. So it's a view function, a view method. Okay, so the first thing you need to create create the object of news API client, and you need to add your API key in here. So I have said that you can just create an account in newsapi.org, and you can get your API key. So API key, and let me just copy my API key from here and paste it in this section. Okay, so after this now you can get the headlines. So you can, for example, you can write top headlines. So top headlines and news API dot you can call the get top headlines. So you can see we have get source, we have get everything, we have get top headlines. We are going to get the top headlines, and in here you need to specify the source. There are different sources. If I open so if I check in here, you can see we have different sources in here. So you can get, for example, I'm going to get this Al Jazeera English news, and let me just paste it in here like this. Okay, and now let me create articles in here and top headlines. I'm going to get the articles like this. Okay, the list of articles. Now I'm going to create some empty lists because I want to append my data to that. The first one is let me create a description. Okay, so after that I need so let me just copy this and paste it in here. I need description, I need news like this. Also let me just bring it in here because I don't need to do this right now. Okay, news, I need an image like this. Okay, so description, news, image. Now after this I need to iterate through our through the length of our articles. So through the length of these articles. Now for I in range of length of our articles, and now I want to create so articles. So you can give for example let me just change this to my articles like this. So my articles and I. Now we need to append our data. So first news dot append, and in here I'm going to append my article. The first I'm going to append the title. So you can see if I open this and if I see the JSON data, so you can see the title and the description and also URL to image. So this is for the article, and for the description dot append, for this I need to my articles, and in here I need to add the description. And the last one is img.append my articles and URL to image. So if you want to just get the URL, you can use URL, but if you want to convert the URL to image, you can use URL to image. So now after this, we need to send these data to our index.html. So as you know, in Django we have context templating, and we are going to send our data through that. So let me create let me call it for example my list, and in here I'm going to use the zip. So first it is news, and the second one is description, and the third one is img. Now we need to return so I need to add this out of the loop like this. Okay, so now I'm going to return render request, and it is index.html. Okay, so index.html, and the last one is the context. So in here the context is my list, and we are going to add this. So this is context. So you can watch my video about this, about template context. So in here let me write my list and my list. So now we have created this method, but now we need to do some routing. So because if you run this, so let me just run this, there will be nothing happen, because we need to add our URL. So there for URL configuration there are different ways, but the way that I like, for every app I'm going to create a URL. If you see in my main news, when I created my project, I have a URL. So let me just remove these comments. Okay, so in here I have URL pattern, and I have just for right now at main, but I like to first, for my every apps I'm going to create a URL. So for example in news app, I'm going to create a new Python file, and I call it URLs. Okay, so now in here I need to just copy this and paste it in here. I don't need this at main, and so for the path in here, okay, so I need to just, okay, so first of all I'm going to open my main, so main news URL that's located in my main project, this URL, and here I need to add include, and in this section I'm going to give my main URL path. So include, and I'm going to add so first you need to add it, it's news app dot URLs. So from news app I'm going to add URLs. So I don't need to this file anymore because I have added this. Now when I create my apps, for example news apps, you can create more apps, as many you want. You can just add those apps in here, so like this. Now in here I'm going to just import this. So let me just from dot views I'm going to import index. So I'm going to import my this index function, and I want in here. Now in the path, so for this I don't want to specify anything, it should be index, and in here you need to add index, and also you can give a name if you want, but I like to give a name like this index. Okay. Okay, so now if I run this, let me just remove this, and now let me just run this. Let me refresh this. Okay, template does not exist at template does not exist in the templates. I have index.html. Let me just check this. Okay guys, so the important issue and here I'm getting the template does not exist. So the error is from template, and it's because I need to add my template in the setting. Also it's good to add your app in the settings.py in here. Also you need to add your installed app, because I have created an app and it is news app. You can add like this. Okay, so now you can come down and you need to add your templates directory in here. So because by default Django does not knows about this, so in here in theirs you can add templates, and templates, let me add in here. So templates, let me save it, and now let me just run it again. So okay, now it's, I will wait now. Okay, so now it's you can see we have just title in here. It's because we are not receiving any news, because we have just created boilerplate index.html, and there is nothing in here. So we need to add codes in here. The first thing, let me just change this to, for example, Al Jazeera News, like this. Okay. Okay, so after this in the body section, so first at the top in the head we need, because we are using Bootstrap CDN, and this is the link, you can get this from their website. Let me just copy this and paste it in here like this. So in the body let me create a div class of so it will be some CSS coding. So let me do the CSS coding. Let me resume this and do the CSS coding. It's not hard. I will show you the coding. So you can see I have just created a Jumbotron class, and the style is color black. It's a div class, and I have an h1 style color black, and I have just written this. So now if I run this, and let me just run this, so you can see this is the latest news, but I have not received this my CSS style. So let me just check this, that where's the problem. I think it's in the link, or I need to refresh my this run it again. So let me create a new session. Let me close this session, and in here cd news and python manage dot py run server. Let me just run it. And also I have misspelling in here, guys. It is jumbotron, so I have forgot to add an O in here. So first let me just, it should be run, and now I am going to add an O in here. So let me save this. Now let me refresh it again. So now you can see we have this, the latest news in a jumbotron style. Okay, so after this so out of div, now we need to create another div class, a container div class. So div class, I call it container. Now in here we are going to fetch our data. So now I need to create for news description I in my list. So this is my context variable, and we need to end the for loop in here. End for. Okay, so first we need to add our image. Let me image src, so it is I, and you can give an alt. So I don't want to give any alt for right now. And let me create an h3 tag, and in here the first one is news. So, and this is our news. Let me add a line break in here. So value or line breaks. Let me create an h4 tag in here. This is for the description. And this is the description, and you can add this in here like this. Okay, so now this is the, I think we are done, and let me just run this. Okay, so now you can see this is the news, and this is the news headlines, and you can get the full content if you want. You can see that in here we have the content. So if you want, you can add this instead of news headline. You can see we have the image and like this. So for example, if you want, for example, also you want to get BBC news, you want to fetch the data. So for that, let me just show you. Create in here, I'm going to create another I call it another HTML file, sorry, new HTML file. I call this BBC, and just I'm going to copy these HTML from my index and add in here. So let me just okay, and let me just change this to BBC News, for example. Okay, so now we need to create a view function for this, and we'll just copy these all and just paste it in here and change this to, for example, BBC. And okay, so just you need to open your URLs, not this, your URLs, and let me just close all of them. You need to open your URLs that is located in your app, this URL. And now we need to import our BBC in here. and also we are going to create the path in this section. So let me just copy this and paste it in here. So this is BBC and this is BBC, and the name is like, for example, you want whatever, but I want to give it BBC. Okay, so now let me just run this, and first let me run the main index. I am waiting for this. Okay, so if now I go to BBC, oh sorry, I have forgot to in here I forgot to return the render, so and it's not index, it is bbc.html. Let me just go to the BBC now, and I'm waiting for this. My development server is now restarting. Okay, now I should see. Okay, so I have received the same news because I need to now bring change to our source. So the source I should get from here, and the source is BBC. Let me add in here. So I think it's BBC News, it's like this, the sources. So now let me just run it again. Okay, now you can see that this is that we have fetched from the BBC, and like this. And if I go to the index, this is our index. So thank you guys, this was a simple news app. If you have any question, please let me know, and for the further videos please subscribe to my channel. I will add the source code to the video description.